your best friend, your family, your neighbour, the news, reporters, the cab driver, the geezer down the pub, whoever, someone you bump into in the park, I guarantee you most people, and this is just a reality, I don't know about other parts of the world, but me being from South London, most people are going to see this as a fucking catastrophic moment in their life, and they are going to project all the negativity onto you, and they're going to try and convince you as a salesperson to believe in the problems. Let me say this, try not to watch the news for a little bit. Try not to listen to that friend. Don't make that phone call. Don't expose yourself to those kind of people. I certainly believe that if you detach yourself from the news and think, okay, they say it's a recession, but how can I use this information for me? How can I adapt my business? How can I become a better salesperson? How can I retweak my service, my product, my system, my brand to serve people in this uncertain time? I always say the same thing. Pandemics, viruses, wars, they're all very, very serious, but sometimes the thing itself is not the major problem, it's the media. So take yourself out of that, take yourself away from people that are going to say, oh, everything's going to fail, everybody's losing their job, everybody's losing money, and what they're using is something called a universal quantifier. That's bullshit. The date is the 12th of August 2020, and today, when I woke up this morning, I saw via some WhatsApp groups I'm a part of, then social media, and then I picked up a paper and I watched the news, and it said we are in official recession. And my first gut feeling and my self-talk was fucking amazing. I'm really, really excited to be in this situation. And part of me saying that isn't a front, isn't me trying to mask some kind of uncertainty that I'm feeling inside. I honestly, with a full amount of integrity, mean it when I say that I'm really, really excited. Now, being, basically in my mid-30s, I've had the pleasure and I've been through a few recessions in my lifetime. One of them when I was very young, so I didn't really understand what was going on. And then the last one happened in 2008, 2009, which was called the subprime mortgage lending recession. Actually, they were calling it a depression. And now we're facing another one. And this one's been kicked off by the so-called coronavirus. Some people calling it a pandemic, other people calling it a plandemic. I'm not here to talk about conspiracies or whether you believe it or not. The point is, whether it's something man-made or not, we are in a state apparently of recession. And what defines us as a economy in recession? There are a couple of different sort of ways to explain it, but it's basically 2 quarters finishing back to back negatively, so we're going into contraction. And the BBC headline, UK in official recession. Sky, the worst recession the UK's been in the last 11 years. Another one I saw on Bloomberg, UK in the worst recession on record. And the reason why I've said this is such a great opportunity, if you look at traders, now I'm not a trader, I don't trade Bitcoin, I don't trade currencies, I don't trade equities, but I try and keep a little bit of an eye on it because I find it quite interesting. I think it's healthy just to know a little bit about it. And one thing I know about traders is they like volatility because when the market goes up, they can make money. When the market goes down, they can make money, provided they have the right information and they act upon the information. When the market's flat and it's stable, that sometimes is some of the worst times for investors and also for traders because they can't really make any money without any movement. When the market's a bit chaotic, when the economy goes into decline, when the economy's in recovery, this is when there's some really, really good opportunities out there. And if you're a salesperson, which everybody should see yourself as some kind of salesperson, because if you're in business for yourself, if you're working for somebody, if you're a team leader, if you're a manager, if you're a CEO, if you're a mother or father, part of your characteristics and part of you being an individual in that entity or having that relationship is about effective communication. So what is a salesperson? It's about effectively communicating your point and using the art of persuasion to get your point across. And once you persuade someone, they would act appropriately, and you can make a sale, and it's mutually beneficial. You can obviously make a commission, or you can get something out of it. They get a good product, they get a good service, and it's a great thing. Going back to my point, if you're a salesperson, which everybody is, you should be able to use the information coming out in the news, coming out in the papers, coming out on the radio stations, coming out in social media as information for you rather than against you. Now, part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast today and also the episode is because your best friend, your family, your neighbour, the news, reporters, the cab driver, the geezer down the pub, whoever, someone you bump into in the park, I guarantee you most people, and this is just a reality, I don't know about other parts of the world, but me being from South London, most people are going to see this as a fucking catastrophic moment in their life, and they are going to project all the negativity onto you, and they're going to try and convince you as a salesperson to believe in the problems. Let me say this, try not to watch the news for a little bit. Try not to listen to that friend. Don't make that phone call. Don't expose yourself to those kind of people, because something interesting will happen. If you expose yourself to outside influences, especially if you are, let's call it, if you're deemed as a bit of a, I don't know, mentally you might not be so strong, you might be slightly weak at this present point in time, you might be a little bit fragile, they might be able to affect your mindset fairly easily. Now, for those of you who are fairly strong-minded, you can watch the news, you can, listen to that friend, and it doesn't matter. It's like a water off a duck's back. It's like someone throwing a bloody stone at a building. You're never going to be moved. You're an unshakable force. You just can't be deterred from your mission. So for those men and women I'm speaking to right now, this doesn't affect you. But for those of you that know that you're quite, you can be influenced quite easily, stay away from these people. And what's interesting is, I always say this to my dad or let's say certain people that are influenced by the news. It would be very interesting that if you never watched the news and if you never picked up a paper, how much you would believe in the coronavirus. Now, I'm not saying it's real or not. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just saying that if you wasn't exposed to the information, how deadly do you think it would be? How catastrophic would you honestly believe it is? How serious do you think it is? Now, do I believe it's a serious scenario? Yes. Do I believe certain things have been overplayed? Yes. Because the reality is, if you walk around in the street, I've been working in London ever since this whole thing kicked off, and I can tell you this, if I didn't pick up the news, if I didn't, pick up papers, you wouldn't really know the difference. Okay, things are a little bit more quiet, but as far as people's health, people that I see, friends and family, you wouldn't really know any different. And it reminds me very similar to this recession. If you didn't pick up a paper, if you didn't watch the news, and if you didn't listen to certain people, you wouldn't really know. And sometimes when people are telling you something, you make it your reality. That's why it's so important when kids are at school or kids are at home and they're developing into young, adults, and they're developing their characteristics. Talk about positive stuff around them. Talk about winning stuff. Talk about being a champion, being someone that is going to succeed and become absolutely successful. I kid you not, when my son is going to bed, I say stuff to him like, you're going to be an athlete, you're going to be a business person. When I go and check on him overnight, I actually whisper to him whilst he's asleep, and call me weird, call me strange, call me whatever you want, but I believe in conditioning the subconscious mind. I say to him, you're a champion, you're going to be dreaming about the most successful version of yourself. I just believe that if you have good self-talk and you talk very well around people, kids or adults, that's going to brush up off on them. And I certainly believe that if you detach yourself from the news and think, okay, they say it's a recession, but how can I use this information for me? How can I adapt my business? How can I become a better salesperson? How can I retweak my service, my product, my system, my brand to serve people in this uncertain time? I always say the same thing. Pandemics, viruses, wars, you know, they're all very, very serious, but sometimes the thing itself is not the major problem, it's the media. So take yourself out of that, take yourself away from people that are going to say, oh, everything's going to fail, everybody's losing their job, everybody's losing money, and what they're using is something called a universal quantifier. That's bullshit. Look at the stock market. There are people that have lost a lot of money, but there are people that gained a lot of money from the stock market because they predicted and calculated things are going to go down. They looked at the IMF report, said that printing of money is going to stop. That's going to crash the market. Furlough, government grants, government schemes, unemployment, companies going under, second wave of coronavirus, all these kind of things factor into the markets, and some people just sit in their hands and think, oh, it's not going to affect me, and then it does. And other people say to themselves, okay, this is going to happen, so I'm going to plan, I'm going to act, I'm going to put my plan into action, and I'm going to execute it. And those people usually come out the other side making more money, saving more money, and learning a fucking lot more. So again, part of this podcast is I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. I might not even see good opportunities here, but I'm just saying, as someone that's lived through, this is now my third official recession, this is exciting times. And only the people that see the opportunity and see this is a fantastic opportunity will seize the opportunity. But if you choose to use this as an excuse, if you choose to listen to that friend or that person down the pub or that person that has a bit of a pessimistic view about life itself and about everything that's going on, you're going to get sucked into it, you're going to get chewed up, and you're going to get spat back out, and you're going to turn into that bitter individual that will always blame circumstances, your boss, your career, your industry, the sector that you're in. You're going to blame everything by yourself. You've got to take responsibility. So let's round this off. Today is a new day. This is apparently a recession. So what are you going to do with it? You've been dealt a hand, and with that hand, it's your chance to play at the big table, and you can really make a killing for yourself. Better still than making money or progressing as a business, you can learn a lot. And I think, as corny, as sleazy, as stupid as this may sound, learning and getting valuable knowledge during this time will serve you for the rest of your life. And I honestly believe that is more valuable than earning a few quid here and there short term. Guys, ladies, be happy, never content.